Here are the top 5 things I don't like about my Icon golf cart. When you get this thing from the factory, this seatbelt system for the front seats creates a very, very frustrating knee breaker right here. That's why mine's unbolted, because this will tear your knee up when you're getting in for your backseat passengers. The running light beams that are actually used for when you're driving create a very fixed center focal point going down the road, so you don't have any peripheral headlight shining to the left and right of the cart. So when you're making a turn, it's very hard to see the road. You better have a high garage door, because the clearance on mine just barely fits, and I have a standard 7-foot door. A lot of people have to cut the rear pillars down, which this one has been done, 2 inches in the back, and you have to take the top bolt washer out of the top of it and pull the center of the roof point down, or else you will not get this thing in a garage. These are way too tall from the factory. This needs to be addressed. It has very noisy knobby tires on it, so probably should give everybody the option of doing a street tire. Listen to this thing when I turn it around. It's not the end of the world, but it definitely eats tires pretty quick. On the original Icons, you used to get a nice Momo steering wheel. This thing is very flimsy. And if anything, when you're driving something, it's the action and the feel of how the machine operates in your hand. And this is very plasticky. The whole steering wheel is just bendy and crappy. This thing's gonna have to come off of here. I'm tired of using it. I got about 135 miles on this thing, and it's just, every time I grab it, it just feels like I'm driving a toy. From the factory, they only do 25, but you gotta reprogram yours to get it up to 30. Here's an honorable mention, and this is probably one of the most frustrating things. These are AC golf carts, which means that they aren't like the old school DC carts, so there's a delay in the gas pedal. It becomes very annoying to drive. You'll see right here. See that delay? It shouldn't take 2 seconds to go. I'll do it one more time. That becomes really annoying when you're driving it down the road. Now the top 5 things I love about this cart. And when I buy another one, 100%. It's got a really good suspension system on it. It's got coilovers on the front. It's got disc brakes. You try to find that on another golf cart. You're not going to find hydraulic disc brakes all the way around on any other model that's going to be under $15,000. Not going to happen. The daytime running light feature is really nice. I like that. High ground clearance here, but like I said in the beginning of the video, they need to change how high the roof is in relationship to how high these are to get them in more common garages. The rear seat grab bar is extremely solid, not flimsy at all like some of the E-Z-GOs. This is very solid. The tubular construction on the frame down here, it really is second to none. It's a solid thing. It's got a nice anti-sway bar. The suspension is stiff, and there's another mention of those hydraulic disc brakes. Very, very good. The LED tail lights are really, really nice. The running lights look really, really good, and they're very, very bright, even in the daytime, like I am here. Front bumper is solid. There is zero play in this whatsoever because it's completely connected into the frame. So it makes for a very solid feeling bar. And I'd be even confident enough to hook this up to something and pull somebody out, maybe another golf cart, maybe a side-by-side. You can definitely use this front bumper. The roof construction on this is extremely solid. The painted roof to match the body is very nice. It's a fiberglass material. It doesn't feel like it's gonna break over time, which is good. They use a lot of vibration isolators everywhere that the roof is mounted to the frame, so that prevents a lot of rattling. They use nylon nuts on all the points of attachment of the roof into the structure coming all the way down. Everything has a lock nut on it, which is obviously very good because these things vibrate a lot. The grab handles are pretty solid, although I think that the choice of plastics they used could be a little bit better. They're a little bit tinny, like an ABS plastic, but you can see even used cap nuts where you're going to be getting in and out of the vehicle in case you would hit your head. There's cap nuts on everything, so that's a nice feature. The seat frame bars are solid tubular construction. all the way around. This is a really nice feature. It creates a very solid feeling cart. The rear seat, as well as these seats over here, all have that same tubular handle. I think they got it right with the onboard display. I found that this is pretty accurate in terms of state of charge and voltage. When you get underneath 25%, it gets a little bit hairy, but you shouldn't be driving around with that low of a battery. A lot of people are going for the lithium ion setups, but quite honestly, there's nothing wrong with this technology. AGM maintenance-free Continental batteries, definitely nice. It's a 48 volt machine, 6 volts per battery. They're easily replaced, easily found. If you're on vacation, you get a battery failure, you can go to any golf cart supply shop and replace your batteries, whereas a lithium ion battery or a LiPo battery, you know, you got to order it, you got to wait for it. They're very expensive, and the trade-off, quite honestly, you know, it's not really, to me, a big benefit. You get a little bit more range, but then you have the fire risk in your garage. So not quite sure I'd want to go that route yet. I'm going to wait for the technology to get a little bit better. Also has a run tow switch, which is great. A programming port, which I've done a video on my channel on how to program this thing to actually work the way it should work, 30 mile an hour, and disable regenerative braking. It's got a really nice controller. It's got a 5 kilowatt motor. Let me show you that. There's your motor and transaxle, 5 kilowatt. Very solid, very heavy. A very, very good propulsion motor for this big heavy cart. Like I mentioned in the beginning, it does have these noisy knobby tires on it, which do wear down very quickly on pavement. Most of the time you're going to be driving this on pavement. You're not buying this as a side-by-side. So again, street tires as an option should be there, but 23 by 10.5 by 12s. It's got a great profile on it. It's got a great rim to it. Anodized aluminum. Very, very nice setup. 4-lug. Can't go wrong with the wheels on it. The tires are something to be desired. I like that the L series have these little fender flares on them. They are ABS plastic, which means if you do leave these out in the sun, these things will crack over time, but you'll probably get 10 years out of them before that happens. They're very, very nice. They do keep a lot of the mud off of the passengers, especially if you're driving down like a wet road or roads with puddles. These do help on these lifted models. I do like it. Another big one here that I like is the space between the bottom of the steering wheel and the seat backrest. I'm about 240 pounds, so you do have the room if you're a grown man to drive this thing around and not have your belly and everything, your chest real close to the steering wheel. I also have kids, so they like to fall asleep on me. So when they go down for a nap and they're on the golf cart with me, I have room to steer and actually be able to hold a toddler or an infant here without having to worry about rubbing them against the steering wheel. But it's definitely a nice feature. There's ample glove box space on the left and right side. Although this always ends up being a footrest for me, I do like the fact that there is no door here, because all the doors do is just become something else you have to do to get your stuff in and out of here. And like I said, if you have kids, you're constantly throwing stuff in, you're taking stuff out. This forward neutral reverse switch, they're often called an FNR switch. This I like, but I think the quality of this switch could be a little bit better, but it is very convenient to have it here and not where your knees and legs go, especially like I said, if you have kids, they're kicking on this thing all the time. They're not going to knock into that switch. The mirrors on this Icon golf cart are very stable. I've noticed on some of the EasyGos, when you're driving down a bumpy road, these things will want to walk themselves to the left or to the right after a long ride. I have not had to readjust these in the 130 plus miles I put on this thing. They stay in one spot and they don't move. That's a very nice feature. Let's talk about the rack and pinion. Very nice center mounted rack and pinion with equal distance on the left and right side for your tie rod ends. So nothing is offset, which is very nice. And let me also show you something else. It's a true disc brake setup, like I mentioned previously in hydraulics. Look at the master cylinder right here with the proportioning valve. That's a gorgeous, gorgeous brake system on this golf cart. When you're going 30 mile an hour down the road with your family, having hydraulic brakes front and rear makes all the difference in the world, because you never know when you're going to need to get on those brakes hard. Let's get another mention on this tubular frame. Look at this thing. Solid front to back. All tubular, all steel. Yes, it is possible that it can rust, but if you take care of it and don't get it all in the salt, you're going to get a long time out of it, and it makes for an extremely solid setup. and the molded plastic flooring is going to be something that's never going to rot. I'm not a fan of plastic, but this is reinforced plastic. I prefer plastic down here because I have an E-Z-GO with the tin floor and it starts to rust out. So a very nice feature. Last thing I'm going to say about this cart that I love is the fact that the paint finish on it is very nice. It takes wax very well. It shines very good. And I think it's definitely probably going to last at least 10-15 years without needing a paint job if you garage this thing. Well, that's it, guys. There you have it. That's my top things I like and don't like about this Icon golf cart. If you're on the fence about buying one, I know that they're an off-brand. They're up and coming. They do make them here in Tampa, Florida, which is great. It does have a lot of foreign parts on it. Would I consider it a Chinese cart, like comparing this to like a Candy or like a Coleman you'd find, one of those, they're all kind of the same? No. I think that this is definitely a step above that. Is it as nice as an E-Z-GO? I think that depends on who you talk to. I think that E-Z-GO has a very good reputation. My 1998 is still going, so, you know, this will last that long, I don't know. But I think for the price point on a 6-seater with the features that I went over on this, I don't think you can go wrong putting your money here. I think that you're going to be okay with it. And I think that parts availability in terms of like DIY stuff is definitely going to become more prevalent for these because there's so many of them now. So if you're on the fence about buying an Icon EV, I would say go for it. If this helped you guys out, I hope this was a real world, honest, you know, not paid by anybody type of review for you to make a decision. Give me a thumbs up, subscribe, comment if you have one of these. I'd love to hear your discussion on it, and I'll get you in the next video. Later.